indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. The mugshot, we've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts.
When you heard that, what did you think? Big sigh.
First of all, I'm just going to say this. If I see a black person walking around with Trump mugshot, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Charles.
No, Gayle.
Charles.
Gayle.
You really can't say that because, A, you don't mean that.
I mean that sincerely. I'm going to just tell you something.
And then you will be arrested for assault. And then what?
I'm going to bail myself out and go celebrate. If I
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. Okay, but go ahead.
Seriously.
Continue.
First of all, if I was at that
conference,
I'd have got up and walked out. That was an insult to all black people.
Donald Trump over the weekend once again thinking he's running against Barack Obama.
Putin, has so little respect for Obama.
Leading by a lot, including Obama.
Obama.
This goes by Obama.
What would you advise President Obama? For our great veterans, we passed VA accountability and VA choice.
I have no greater privilege than the chance to help make sure that our country keeps the promises that we've made to everybody who signs up to serve. With that, I'm going to sign this bill.
Obama he doesn't want to talk about it.
Oh, you mean President Biden?
Monday, the 4th of March, 2024. Good evening, America. One day before Super Tuesday, and before we go any further, shock, gasp, horror. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Geraldo's back, and he's still as angry as he was when he last was in front of a TV camera.
I have no problem with the deportation of criminal aliens. I think that the problem with that, saying it that way, is that you ignore the fact and the data, 140 years of data, that illegal aliens, so-called, undocumented immigrants, commit fewer crimes than legal residents. So if we take that as that the community itself commits fewer crimes than the citizen community, then
I'm going to stop you right there.
The police and ICE should work together.
No, because we did an entire segment on this and the so-called data on Friday. It comes back to one study out of Texas about illegal immigrants who commit homicide. It is true. And we had the guy on from Cato who did all the studies, and I said, can you extrapolate this out?
Well,
and he said no. And we don't have 140 years of data about illegal immigrants. We don't have 140 years of data about this. It's just not true.
Yes, we do. Stanford University, I read the study myself. We absolutely do. And why are you questioning my recitation of the data? I am absolutely confident that illegal immigrants, according to the data, including the Policing Institute, commit fewer crimes proportionally than citizens do. Trump didn't finish the wall, though. Trump gave many of the wrong signals. I think that we have to look as a Republican and Democrat country together and independent. We have to work together to find solutions rather than try to politicize a specific crime or try to politicize an issue, scare people in the way they scared them about the Irish, and they scared them about the Italians, and they scared them about the Chinese, and they scared them about the Eastern European Jews.
This is very different. This is very different. This is not about scaring about a group of people.
Poisoning the blood of our nation? Where do you think that comes from?
This is not scaring about a group of people coming here for a better...
News Nation trying to get some clout, so they bring in Geraldo. Talking of clout, quack herself. Alina Yabba-Dabba-Doo has been on Fox, and here's the weirdest thing about Alina Yabba-Dabba-Doo. For a lawyer, her memory isn't particularly good. So do you know what? Since she has a problem, let's help her out.
This is a crazy reaction to something everybody knew was going to happen.
You know what it reminds me of, Jesse? Do you remember in 2016 and 2020, and you had these women, they're memes now of them crying when Donald Trump won, just the outbreak. I remember waking up at 2 a.m. and watching liberals just shed liberal tears. That is what's happening.
We just interrupt to bring you a quick question. How far will she go?
Last one, and the last one, your case in New York, where judges said $465 million. You got to come up with it. I think Trump petitioned the court to say, can I come up with $100 million? And I believe they said, where does that stand? Let's just ask you that.
Sure. The Attorney General case is on appeal. We're waiting on that decision. We had a good hearing last week on that case. Obviously, the judge, the appellate division saw that there were some issues in the order and rectified them. Look, I think that our appellate, I've said this a million times, I think our appellate case is going to be very strong. We have a good record for appeal. We know that there were decisions that were made in error. We know that there was an appellate division decision that narrowed the statute of limitations, which was completely ignored in the trial court. And like I say all the time, honestly, it's time to let our side come out. And
you initially said that you thought the Supreme Court would have a difficult time. Your quote that I looked up today was avoiding the consequence of the plain language of the 14th Amendment. It was obviously a 9-0 call today. So I wonder, what you made of this ruling and if you feel differently now.
I don't feel differently. I think they did have a very difficult time with it because I don't think any of the three opinions make any sense whatsoever. I think these opinions are fundamentally incoherent and they're fundamentally arbitrary. And I think that I think it just shows the difficulty the court had in trying to select an off-ramp here. I mean, they totally rejected the Trump's principal arguments, which were that the president is somehow not an officer of the United States, and the other argument, which was that he did not engage in an insurrection. And the latter, I think, is the most important takeaway from this, notwithstanding Donald Trump declaring victory. He remains an adjudicated insurrectionist after this opinion because the Supreme Court did not in any way undercut or contradict or suggest in any way there was any infirmity in the factual findings made by the lower courts.
Why do you think that was?
Because he's unquestionably an insurrectionist. There really wasn't, I mean, it would have been absurd for the court to try to redefine what it means to engage in an insurrection and to engage and what an insurrection is, to try to fit it to get Donald Trump off the hook. And that's what the court was terrified about. They didn't want to go there. And you can see the sort of the terror in the opinions, in the concurring opinions. I mean, Justice Barrett was just, her opinion just exuded fear of the political consequences of the decision. And frankly, the concurring opinion, I know they're perceived as having attacked the majority opinion for going too far, but the problem was it wasn't overreach by the majority, it was underreach by all 9 justices. And the concurring opinion, frankly, its criticisms of the majority opinion actually end up undermining the concurrence's own opinion as to the result in the case, which was to affirm.
Well, that's interesting because I wonder then what you made of this line because of what the liberal justices said about the majority that stood out to me, where they said, quote, they decide novel constitutional questions to insulate this court and the petitioner from future controversy.
I cannot figure out exactly what they are talking about there. And it may be a circumstance where the opinions were so quickly written that some of that language is was held over from an earlier draft of the opinion. As far as I can see, what the majority held was that states cannot enforce, whether it be state officials or state courts, cannot enforce Section 3 of the 14th Amendment against any person running for federal office, and the basis for that without a congressional enactment. I don't think there's anything in that opinion that actually holds, and there couldn't be because it wasn't presented by the case, that there is that somehow insurrectionists are completely immunized from any kind of federal action to apply Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. I just don't see it in the majority opinion. And maybe it was there in a draft, I don't know. But I can't make heads or tails, frankly, out of the concurring opinions any more than I can make heads or tails out of the majority opinion. It's just, it was just all shoddy legal work all around by all the justices.
Yeah, the concurring opinions are definitely worth reading. But there was also this moment today where Trump was scheduled to give remarks right after this came out. His team, had a pretty good idea what was coming when the Supreme Court said they were going to announce an opinion today. And I think the idea was that he was going to be touting this victory, but he ended up spending more time defending his immunity case. Here's part of what he said today.
Another thing that will be coming up very soon will be immunity for a president, and not immunity for me, but for any president. If a president doesn't have full immunity, you really don't have a president, because nobody that is serving in that office will have the courage to make, in many cases, what would be the right decision, or it could be the wrong decision.
You heard between that and what he said earlier, praising the court for its brilliant and diligent work. I mean, how much do you expect that would change from today, what he said, to what we could hear as soon as maybe June on how they rule on immunity?
Look, I don't think he's going to be a happy camper in May or June whenever the immunity case comes down, because I think this court, which was clearly motivated by fear of applying the law, is going to be fearful of not applying the law in the immunity case because it would be such a horrible and terrible decision. I think there's no legal expert feels otherwise that to suggest that the president has the kind of absolute immunity from criminal prosecution that Trump asks for. And it may be true that there are some circumstances, hypothetical ones, where Congress could pass a law that's designed to infringe upon the president's ability to carry out his offices and use a criminal sanction to do that. But that's just not this case. This is a case where the president tried to extend his term of office and violate the very clause of the Constitution, the executive vesting clause that says he has the executive power, but he only has it for 4 years. And it's just, if the president can't be prosecuted here, then he can never be prosecuted. And it's got nothing to do, as Trump suggests, with the president having courage to do the right thing on the behalf of the country. Because he wasn't trying to do the right thing on behalf of the country. He was trying to do the wrong thing for the country, but for his own personal benefit.
Yeah, he claimed today that the presidency would become a ceremonial position without that immunity. We'll see what they decide. George Conway,
Far be for me to ever point out about some of this
that.
personal, private border, but Trump's belt perhaps could be used as a wall itself. It's clearly keeping something lardy-lardy tucked in. However, in this clip, can somebody tell me what he says, what she says, and how much money does he give away? Because he pulls out a what? He doesn't give it all away. We'll finish today's Good Yawn in America with a tale of two eyes from one person. Yes, Don Trump Jr., who has perfected the art of crying, because his dad, remember when he was crying, his dad wasn't in power? For no reason, and it gives us a cheap laugh. I'll play that clip with you, and I'll ask this question. What's going on with the two eyes in this thing he did Monday?
That was sort of an amazing press, right? 20 minutes, off the cuff, impromptu, no notes, no podium, no teleprompter, and you realize Joe Biden would be incapable of standing on his own for 20 minutes, let alone anything else. But for those of you who missed it, just tuning in now, I see the numbers going up a little bit. So, new episode of Triggered going live in about 9 minutes.